Thank you, Honourable President. We now move on to the follow-up question, which will be asked by Honourable Ryder from DA.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Welcome back to the NCOP, Mr. President, this time in its 7th iteration.
Yes, it's good to
Mr.
see you
President,
here.
the Freedom Charter lists employment challenges, poverty and inequality as key areas of focus. Mr. Mandela also mentioned these challenges when he had his famous debate with Mr. de Klerk way back in 1994. And these three aspects have since been standard in every single ANC manifesto. With President Kgalema Motlanthe then being the first on record to put them together and call them the triple challenges. Now, anyone who's listened to ANC speeches since then will agree that triple challenges has become one of the stock phrases to be inserted into every speech. But in spite of all of this focus, unemployment is at an all-time high, poverty remains as challenging as ever, and the Gini coefficient has worsened. Now, ANC policies are clearly not working, and the voters agree, which is why they delivered a government of national unity. The GNU, Mr. President, is an ideal opportunity to take a look at new ideas and for these to be discussed and tested. What has Cabinet done to evaluate policies to find areas where compromise can be sought with a view to driving GDP growth for the benefit of all South Africans? Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Ryder. Honourable President.
Honourable Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Ryder. It's good that you are still one of the old-timers of the NCOP.
Very few of them left.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Honourable Member, you will know, of course, that when we put together the Government of National Unity, it was underpinned by what we call the Statement of Intent. Now, the Statement of Intent is a clear set, or contains a clear set of principles. And one should never see it as a compromise. That is clearly not a compromise. It is a very clear statement that says we need to focus on what will take our country forward. And those principles include what we need to do from a policy point of view, from an execution point of view. Now, I don't see a compromise in any of those. It is a unity of purpose. Unity of purpose that has brought all those that agree with the principles that are underpinned by our Constitution, rule of law, respect for the Constitution, and seeking the development of the people of South Africa through a growing economy, the creation of jobs, and all that revolves around clear policies of what we need to do to execute what we have set out in the Statement of Intent. The Statement of Intent is a really beautiful document around which 10 parties have coalesced to focus on how we take our country forward and how we can improve the economic situation in our country, how we can create jobs. And in the course of doing so, we're now developing a clear medium-term development plan. A clear medium-term development plan that is going to guide the 7th administration for the next 5 years, where we will work together as a government of national unity. Last night I had dinner with the various parties of the government of national unity, and each one of the parties that were at that dinner table all confirmed that the government of national unity is here to stay. We recommit ourselves to the government of national unity, and we are going to work to implement the Statement of Intent and everything that is set out in there. And that includes improving our economy, growing our economy, creating jobs, making sure that there continues to be rule of law, increasing the capacity and improving the capacity of the state, and addressing the issues of poverty and inequality. Now, there is unity of purpose, unity of commitment when it comes to that. So if you say this is a compromise. It's really a clear commitment to improve the lot of South Africans. And last night, there wasn't much wine flowing around, no. There was a lot of conversation and recommitment to addressing the challenges that face our country. It was a beautiful evening. I wish you were there, even as a fly on the wall, just to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. We now move on to the last follow-up, which will be asked by EFF, Honorable Chiram Pungose.
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo. In a population of above 60 million, 30 million in South Africa live in poverty, 18.2 million in extreme poverty, 13.8 million are experiencing food poverty, literal hunger and starvation. Mr. President, there were lesser people living in poverty before you became president. There were lesser people unemployed, lesser violence against women and children, lesser murders, lesser femicide. Millions of our children under your presidency experience multidimensional poverty, whether deprived of healthcare, housing, nutrition, information, water, and sanitation. These harrowing statistics have never dropped since you became president. Instead, they continue to rise under your presidency. Poverty has worsened in South Africa since you became president of South Africa. Whose poverty are you referring to be prioritizing since 2018, when it's not reflected statistically and in the lives of women and children who are at the bottom of the food chain and whose conditions have worsened since your inauguration in 2018 to date? Thank you.
Honorable President, again, I've not heard any question that has been asked. However, if you so wish, you may respond to the statement, whether is it of intent or what, I don't know, but you are at liberty to respond to it.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I've listened to the Honorable Member a few times, and one thing that she's really good at is having a statistically driven mind. She's very good in regurgitating statistics, and with the greatest of respect, I should say some of the statistics that you put forward are a bit skew and flawed, but with great respect I say, I did not hear any question being put forward. I just had...
Speaker, point of order, please. Chairperson. Ngicela ukuthi sihloniphane, Chairperson. Ngibuzile question ngithe ku President, whose poverty are you referring to be prioritizing?
Just a moment. I have not given you a platform. You are already speaking, Honorable Member. You have risen on the point of order. We have afforded you an opportunity to ask a follow-up question, of which you made that statement, and accordingly afford the President to address you on the issue that you have raised. Over to you, Honorable President. You may respond to the statement that has been made before the House.
Honorable Chairperson, it's a pity that Honorable Member did not allow me to continue, because much as she did not really put a question forward, what I was going to favor her with is precisely a response to the comment that she made, because she asks, or she seems to ask, which poverty am I referring to? And of course, we have always said that, as Honorable Member said earlier, that yes, we face a triple challenge in our country, and we've never shied away from that. We've never shied away from saying there is rife poverty in our country, there is inequality, and indeed there is unemployment. These are the challenges that our country faces, and these are the challenges that the Government of National Unity is determined to address. As we entered into the 7th administration, and as all the 10 parties committed themselves to a program of action, we are aiming and we are determined to ensure that, yes, we reduce incidence of poverty in our country, the poverty yes, that affects millions of South Africans, unemployment that affects millions of South Africans, and to reduce inequality in our country. This is what we have committed to doing. And so, if you care to know and to listen, the Government of National Unity is committed to doing precisely that. And the vigor and the commitment that we are underpinning our work with is such that as we grow our economy, as we embark on more and more developmental initiatives, we will be able to reduce unemployment and create more jobs. And through that, we are certain, I'm certain that we'll be able to reduce poverty as well, and in the end, address the challenge of inequality. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable President. There is, however, a follow-up question from Honorable Makesini. Over to you, Honorable Member.
Manbulele Mongameli. Helen Zille commented that the government that you lead, in essence, is a coalition between yourself and the Democratic Alliance. She also called that it uyibiza GNU to appease abantu beparty yakho abangaxolanga ngalento osibafake kuyo. Then what okunye, you will never embark to any program of action without bona beyondosa a Democratic Alliance. Based on those things, ebethetha ngazo ke Mongameli, ndifuna ukuqonda the opposition ukuba bazimisela ukuba bazakopoza yonke into eniza ngayo regardless uba nithathe kwi-executive i-decision is-majority ukuthi nizakwazi njani uredressa the apartheid and the colonial legacy and ukumake sure ukuthi lo government uyakwazi ubuyisa umhlaba kubantu, niyakwazi ukudila nge-unemployment so that le challenges sinayo as a country sibeka kwanokubala. Ndiyabulela.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I must say that as the Honorable Member seeks to characterize the Government of National Unity as a government between myself and the DA, that is a completely wrong characterization. It is not a government that revolves around the president and another political party. It's a government of national unity of 10 political parties that are involved in a government of national unity. We have determined, as I said earlier in my main reply, to work together as a government of national unity. How anyone, including the person that you referred to, seeks to describe it is just really a matter of polemics. It's just somebody who is whistling out there in the wind and trying to paint a particular color to what we are seeking to do. Those that are involved in a government of national unity know, and this was also confirmed last night when I met all the parties, we engage with each other with respect, with recognition, and with acceptance of the role that each of the parties play, united in the project of improving the lives of South Africans. And so therefore, those who have this notion that it is only myself and the other party or two parties are completely wrong, and that is a complete wrong reading of the current situation, and may I say even a reading of where this country seeks to be going. We are moving forward as a united government made up of 10 political parties that have agreed that we are going to address the challenges that face the people of South Africa, working together. The people of South Africa determined and decided that we should work together. And that was the mandate they have given us all, to say, work together to advance our interests. And And that is precisely what we are doing. I said that we are underpinning everything that we are doing through the statement of intent, which is very clear in terms of what we need to achieve. And we know that having set out a very clear program of action, we will execute that together. Now, I appointed a cabinet that is made up of the various parties. Some are represented in Parliament, and many of them are represented in the executive. And I'd like to give you a front row seat to see precisely how that is working out. It is working out so well that everyone who's been appointed in various positions are showing a great deal of commitment, not to work for themselves, not to work for their own parties, but to work for the people of South Africa. And that is the strength of what we are seeking to do. And this is the government that I lead, and I lead it in the interest of the people of South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable President. We are now, can you take your seat, Honorable Gotzel? Thank you. We're now moving to the next follow-up question, which is asked by DA through Honorable Gotzel. Over to you.
Honorable President.
Honorable President, can we allow him to ask the question?
Yes.
Good
Indeed.
afternoon.
I am at your mercy, Honorable Chairperson.
Mr. President, you actually took most of my question by repeating the promise you made to the people of South Africa on the 18th of July, and you partially repeated it for the lady in the back there. But I would like, with your permission, to just highlight the third priority, and that is the promise of a capable, ethical, and developmental state. So if you and your government are then still committed to these priorities, my question to you is, why is it that Minister Thembi Simelane is still in your cabinet as the Minister of Justice?
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. You will know, of course, Honorable Gotzel, that as soon as the story around herself arose, I asked for a report that will outline precisely what the actual situation is. She has just submitted the report to me with all the documents and the attachment, which I am now studying. And I have said publicly that I'd like time and space to look at this, to examine all this, and be able to see how we take this matter forward. So we embark on various processes, and I think all organizations and all entities do embark on processes. So I'd like you as well, Honorable Gotzel, to allow this process to ensue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable President. The next follow-up question is asked by UDM, Honorable Peter.
Manbulise, as Honorable Speaker of the NCOP, Mamum Tsipan. Honorable President of the Republic of South Africa, Molo President.
Molo Nagu.
My President, my question is so simple. It's just for the clarification of the GNU. Ngizawuthetha isiNgesi President today, so that to make things simple.
Ngiyasiva nesiXhosa kaloku.
Oh,
Kodwa thetha ngesingesi, khumsha.
Thank you, President. Can funda ukhumsha nami. Thank you, President. In the case where parties in the government of national unity are unable to reach consensus regarding the implementation of the basic minimum program of priorities contained on the statement of the intent for 2024 GNU, should the matter be taken to Consultation Council for mediation? whether the council decision would be binding or taken as a recommendation by members of the GNU. The reason why, President, we're asking is because we don't understand the actual gathering of this GNU. Because the same people, we as the same people that were in this GNU, were still challenging you, President, meaning we don't understand what we're in for. Thank you, President.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. We have sought to explain over and over what the Government of National Unity is really all about. It's about executing the mandate of South Africans. The South African people did not give a single party an outright majority to set up government on its own. So that having been done by South Africans, it required that we should all put our heads together and say, how do we take this country forward? And in doing so, the 10 parties got together and said, we should work together as the people of South Africa have determined and decided, and form a government of national unity, since no single party achieved a 50+1 majority on its own. So it requires that there should be a measure of cooperation. A statement of intent was then drafted, which I should say, having been drafted, a number of parties were then consulted. Nearly all parties were consulted that are represented in our parliament. In the end, 10 said very clearly, we subscribe to these principles that are set out in the statement of intent, and we are therefore committed and determined to work together collectively as the 10 parties. And those 10 parties having agreed to do so, I then had the opportunity, having been elected the President of the Republic by this Parliament, to then pick or appoint a cabinet that is made up of the majority of those parties, and some are represented in our Parliament. And those members of the executive, including those who are in our Parliament, having signed to the statement of intent, have set out a clear program of where South Africa should go on the mandate of the people of South Africa. And of course, as I said earlier, we're all from different parties that have different manifestos, parties that have different or adhere to different ideologies. But what unites us is the statement of intent, and this statement of intent, having united us all, we also inserted the governance processes that will govern our relationship. In case there are any areas of difference or disputes. Last night when we met, we decided that in ensuring that we enhance good working relationships, we will have what we call a processing team, a team that will process whatever needs to be addressed by the leaders of all the political parties. So that processing team will identify those issues that we need to discuss and, say, resolve from time to time. And embedded in the statement of intent, of course, we did say, if there ever was an area of difference, and let me put it up front, that of course, because we come from different political parties, there will always be differences. As there are differences in any relationship, whether it's between friends, between partners in a marriage, or in an organization, in a company, or even here in Parliament, all over. So there will always be people who see things differently. We therefore need to find ways of resolving those. Now, I don't work on the basis that, we are going to differ to a point of even parting ways. I've often worked on the basis of what Nelson Mandela taught us, that for every problem there is a solution. And so you try to find the solution. And so we underpin our working together, and we confirmed this yesterday, that we will find solutions to whatever problems that may arise, because problems will arise, and we should never kid ourselves and think that we will not have challenges and problems. So we will find problems. So how will we take them? To arbitration or mediation? No, we will engage amongst ourselves. We will find each other, and of course we've set up a system that has been tried and tested in solving problems, sufficient consensus. But for me, sufficient consensus means that we build consensus amongst all of us. So we build consensus, we convince one another, and find solutions for the problems that we may have. And that is the way that the government of national unity will proceed forward. So that is why I continue saying to our people, support this process that you, as the people of South Africa, decided we should have through the vote outcome that you landed us with. So we are here because the people of South Africa, through their votes, delivered this outcome, and we must make it work. So last night we said we're going to make this work, and we will, as we face challenges, find solutions, as you will see as time goes on. From tomorrow onwards, you'll find how we find solutions, or you'll see how we find solutions to continue with this government of national unity. Iyo ke le ndiyakuthemba ukuthi uvile. Xa ufuna ukuthi ndithethe ngesiXhosa ndizawuthetha ngaso ngenye imini. Ndiyabulela.